I found the key at 2:13 a.m. in my mailbox. Cold, heavy, and carved with the number 302. I don't know why, but the moment I touched it, I felt like it already belonged to me. I should have ignored it. I should have gone back inside and locked the door. But something was pulling me, like I had been there before. And the worst part, when I finally found room 302, the key didn't just open the door. It unlocked something I had buried inside myself. I found the key on a quiet evening, the kind where nothing unusual ever happens. It was sitting inside my mailbox, resting on top of the usual bills and advertisements. At first I thought it was just a mistake. Maybe it belonged to a neighbor, or maybe the mailman had dropped it in the wrong box. But when I picked it up, something felt off. It was heavier than a normal key, cold against my fingers, like it had been sitting in the dark for too long. There was no tag, no note, no explanation. Just a number carved into the metal, 302. I stood there for a long moment, staring at it, trying to remember if it meant anything to me. An apartment number? A locker? A hotel room? But nothing came to mind. I told myself to ignore it. People lose things all the time. It wasn't my problem. I placed the key on the table and tried to move on with my evening. I made coffee, turned on the TV, scrolled through my phone. But no matter what I did, my eyes kept drifting back to the key. It felt like it was watching me. That sounds ridiculous, I know. But the longer it sat there, the stronger the feeling grew. Like it didn't belong in my world, yet somehow it belonged to me. After an hour of pretending not to care, I gave in. I grabbed my jacket, slipped the key into my pocket, and stepped outside. I didn't know where I was going at first. I just walked. But something strange happened. I wasn't really choosing my direction. My feet were moving on their own, turning corners before I could think, leading me through streets I didn't usually take. It felt like I was following a memory, one I couldn't quite reach. After nearly 30 minutes, I stopped in front of a building I had never noticed before. It stood at the far end of the street, half hidden in shadows, its walls worn and faded, like it had been forgotten by time. Most of the windows were dark, no movement, no sound. Still, something about it felt familiar. I stepped closer, my heartbeat slow but heavy in my chest. The entrance door creaked as I pushed it open, and the smell inside hit me immediately. Old wood, dust, and something faintly metallic. The hallway stretched ahead, long and dim, with flickering lights that buzzed softly overhead. And then I saw it. Room 302, at the very end of the corridor. I froze. My hand moved slowly into my pocket, pulling out the key. The number matched exactly. This wasn't a coincidence. I told myself to turn back, to leave. This wasn't normal, and nothing good ever comes from following strange instincts into dark places. But I didn't leave. Instead, I walked forward. Each step echoed louder than it should have, like the building was listening to me. When I finally reached the door, I hesitated for just a second, then raised the key. My hands were shaking now. I slid the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. The click sounded too loud in the silence. I pushed the door open. The room was almost empty. A single chair sat in the center. A small table stood against the wall, and directly in front of me, there was a mirror. That was it. No bed, no decorations, no signs of anyone living there. But what unsettled me the most wasn't what was there. It was what wasn't. Dust. The room was clean. Too clean, like someone had been here recently. My breath grew shallow as I stepped inside. And then I saw it. On the table, there was a photograph. I moved closer, my pulse racing, and picked it up. The moment I looked at it, everything inside me went cold. It was me, standing in this exact room, smiling. I dropped the photo instantly, like it burned my skin. "No," I whispered. That wasn't possible. I had never been here before, I was sure of it. But the photo didn't lie. Before I could even process what I was seeing, a sudden click broke the silence. I turned sharply. A small recorder on the table had turned on by itself. Static crackled for a moment, and then a voice began to speak. My voice. If you're hearing this, you came back again. I felt my knees weaken. What? I whispered. The recording continued, calm and steady. You just don't remember. My heart started pounding violently now. No, that's not true, I said out loud, shaking my head. But deep down, something inside me stirred, something dark, something buried. You forget every time, the voice went on. That's why I left the key, so you could find your way back. I stumbled backward, my breathing uneven. This didn't make sense. It couldn't. Then came the words that shattered everything. You killed someone in this room. I froze completely. You couldn't live with it, the voice said, so you chose to forget. My vision blurred. No, I whispered again, but this time it sounded weaker. I looked down at the floor. At first I saw nothing, but then I noticed it. Faint stains, dark patches, barely visible against the surface. Not paint, not dirt, blood. My stomach twisted violently. The room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Look behind the mirror, the recording said, and then it stopped. Silence filled the room again. For a long moment, I couldn't move. I didn't want to move, because I already knew whatever was behind that mirror would change everything. But my body didn't listen. Slowly, unwillingly, I stepped forward. The mirror stood tall against the wall, reflecting my pale, terrified face. I reached out with trembling hands and pulled it aside. What I saw behind it made my scream tear through the silence. There was a hidden space in the wall, narrow, and inside it, there was a body, lifeless, still, waiting. I staggered backward, my entire body shaking now. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think. My eyes locked onto the figure, unable to look away. And then I noticed something even worse. The hand. The body's hand was slightly raised, as if it had been holding something. And it was a key. Another key. I forced myself closer, every step heavier than the last. My fingers slowly reached out and took it. It felt just like the first one. Cold, heavy. I turned it over. There was a number carved into it, a different number. My heart sank. This wasn't over, not even close. I stood there, staring at the new key in my hand, a horrifying realization settling deep inside me. This wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last, because somewhere out there was another door waiting for me.